Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into the story of Joseph and his brothers
Okay.
from the book of Genesis,
Right.
specifically chapters 43 through 46.
Okay.
You've given us some really thought-provoking source material.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it's a story that never fails to amaze me.
It's a good one.
Betrayal, forgiveness, unexpected twists and turns,
Yep.
and ultimately this profound sense of God's providence.
Uh-huh.
We're going to unpack all of that, explore the key takeaways,
Okay.
and hopefully uncover some insights that you might have missed along the way.
Sounds good.
So let's jump right in.
Right.
We're picking up in Genesis 43, where the brothers are returning to Egypt,
Go.
driven by the ongoing famine.
Right.
They have to get more grain.
They do.
But this time there's a new condition.
Okay.
They must bring Benjamin,
Benjamin.
Joseph's younger brother,
Oh.
with them.
Uh-huh.
Can you even imagine the anxiety Jacob must have felt?
Oh, it's palpable, isn't it?
Mhm.
He's sending his sons back into a situation where he fears they might be harmed,
Right.
especially Benjamin, who holds a special place in his heart
Right.
as the son of his beloved Rachel.
Oh, wow.
It's a true test of faith.
And in verse 14, we see Jacob wrestling with that tension between fear and faith.
Right.
He prays for God's mercy,
Yeah.
acknowledging his deep fear of losing another son,
Yeah.
but still surrendering to a power beyond his control.
It's beautiful.
It's a very human moment,
Yeah.
one I think we can all relate to.
Totally.
Have you ever felt that way,
Yeah.
caught between worry and the need to trust in something bigger than yourself?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a universal struggle, isn't it? To hold on to hope even when gripped by fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
But what's so fascinating here is how the text subtly hints at God's providence,
Uh-huh.
that guiding hand working behind the scenes, even when we can't see it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost like a little wink from God
Yeah.
when the steward tells them not to be afraid and points out the treasure in their sacks.
That's right.
It's such a small detail,
Yeah.
but it speaks volumes, doesn't it?
It does.
Like a reminder that even when things seem bleak,
Yeah,
there's a force for good at work.
exactly. It prompts us to consider
Okay.
where in our own lives
Yeah.
might we be overlooking those subtle signs of grace,
Right.
those moments where things unexpectedly fall into place.
Yeah.
Is it possible that we're being guided and protected in ways we don't even realize?
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
Now, as we move into Genesis 44,
Okay.
the plot really thickens.
Here we go.
Joseph, still disguised,
Yes.
decides to test his brothers further. Remember that silver cup he plants in Benjamin's sack?
Oh, yeah.
It's like something straight out of a psychological thriller.
It's a masterstroke of dramatic tension.
Right.
Suddenly, the brothers are accused of stealing,
Oh, yeah.
their guilt seemingly exposed,
Mhm.
and the stakes are incredibly high.
Yeah.
They're brought back to Joseph,
Right.
facing judgment and the potential for severe consequences.
And in that moment of crisis, we see a remarkable shift in Judah.
Yes.
In verse 16, he steps forward and takes responsibility not just for himself, but for all of his brothers.
Wow.
He acknowledges their collective guilt before Joseph, declaring that God has uncovered their wrongdoing.
It's huge.
It's a pivotal moment, don't you think?
I think it's one of the most powerful examples of character development in all of literature.
Wow.
This isn't the same Judah who callously suggested selling Joseph into slavery.
Right.
Something profound has shifted within him.
Yeah.
What do you think might have contributed to this transformation in Judah's character?
That's such a great question.
Yeah.
It makes me think about how hardship and suffering can sometimes lead to the most unexpected growth.
Interesting.
It's almost as if Judah has been on his own internal journey,
Yeah.
wrestling with his past actions and coming to terms with the consequences.
Powerful.
Yeah.
That's a very insightful observation.
Thanks.
And it raises an important question for all of us.
Yeah.
How do we respond to those moments where our own flaws and failings are exposed?
Right.
Do we shrink back in shame and denial?
Yeah.
Or do we, like Judah, step forward and embrace accountability as a catalyst for growth?
Now, I don't know about you, but I was practically on the edge of my seat waiting for Genesis 45,
Oh, yeah.
the chapter where everything comes to a head.
The moment of truth.
Yeah.
Joseph finally reveals his true identity to his brothers.
Yes.
What a powerful scene.
And what strikes me is not just the revelation itself,
Yeah.
but Joseph's incredible act of forgiveness.
Oh, absolutely.
In verse 5, he tells his brothers not to be angry with themselves for what they did.
Wow.
He says, and I'm paraphrasing here, it was all part of God's plan to save lives. Wow. That's forgiveness on a whole other level, wouldn't you say?
It's truly remarkable. Joseph isn't simply saying, "It's okay, I forgive you."
Right.
He's reframing their entire understanding of the situation.
Right. He's seeing God's purpose and providence woven through a tapestry of pain and betrayal.
Yes.
It's a powerful example of how a shift in perspective can pave the way for profound healing and reconciliation.
It's like he's saying, what you intended for evil, God used for good.
Beautiful.
And that leads us to another profound question.
Okay.
How can we, like Joseph, learn to see God's hand at work even in the most difficult and painful experiences of our lives?
That is the question.
What would it take for us to embrace such a radical perspective of forgiveness?
It's a challenge for sure.
And it leads us directly into Genesis 46, where we see Jacob, now known as Israel, making a monumental decision.
Huge.
He's packing up his entire family and moving to Egypt after everything that's happened, after the loss of Joseph, after the fear and uncertainty.
Yeah.
This is an act of incredible faith.
It is.
Can you imagine leaving everything you know, everything familiar, to journey into the unknown like that?
It's a truly awe-inspiring leap of faith, isn't it?
Yeah. And yet, amidst all the unknowns,
Yeah.
we see God's reassurance in verse 3.
Okay.
He tells Jacob, "Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you into a great nation there."
Wow.
What a powerful reminder that God's presence and faithfulness transcend geographical boundaries.
It's about trusting that even in the midst of massive change, even when we're scared and unsure, God is with us, guiding us toward a purpose greater than we can fully grasp.
Exactly. And it begs the question,
Okay.
what Egypts are we being called to embrace in our own lives?
Right.
What uncharted territories is God inviting us to explore, even if they seem daunting or unfamiliar?
Those are some really thought-provoking questions.
These chapters from Genesis are like a masterclass in storytelling. They weave together these themes of family and faith, betrayal and redemption in a way that still resonates with us all these centuries later.
I completely agree. It's remarkable how these ancient stories offer such timeless insights into the human condition.
They do.
I mean, who hasn't struggled with trust issues?
Right.
Dealt with family drama, or wrestled with the idea of forgiveness.
For sure.
These are universal experiences that transcend time and culture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The story of Joseph and his brothers isn't just some ancient historical account.
Right.
It's a mirror.
Yeah.
Reflecting back our own complexities and struggles.
For sure.
It's about the messy reality of human relationships.
Right.
And the difficult path towards healing and wholeness.
One of the things that really struck me as we were preparing for this deep dive was the theme of trust.
Okay.
We see Jacob wrestling with it throughout these chapters.
He does.
He's understandably wary of sending his sons back to Egypt, especially after what happened to Joseph.
Of course.
And yet he ultimately chooses to trust.
He does.
To have faith in something beyond his immediate circumstances.
Right.
What do you think that says about the nature of faith?
It highlights the inherent risk involved in truly trusting. Jacob doesn't have all the answers.
Right.
He doesn't know how things will turn out.
Yeah.
But he makes the conscious decision to believe, to have faith that God is working behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Even when he can't see the full picture.
Right.
It's a powerful reminder that faith often requires us to step outside our comfort zones.
Yeah.
And embrace the unknown.
And speaking of stepping outside comfort zones,
Okay.
let's talk about the incredible act of reconciliation that unfolds between Joseph and his brothers.
All right.
This story is ultimately about broken relationships being mended.
Yeah.
About finding forgiveness and healing after deep hurt and betrayal.
It is.
But it's not a simple,
right,
sentimental kind of reconciliation, is it?
Absolutely not.
No.
It's messy. It's raw.
Yeah.
It's full of emotional ups and downs.
Right.
It takes time.
For sure.
It's a process that unfolds gradually, layer by layer.
You're right. There's that incredible moment of revelation in Genesis 45.
Yes.
When Joseph finally reveals himself to his brothers.
He does.
But even then, it's not like everything magically goes back to normal.
Right.
There's still fear.
Okay.
There's still baggage from the past. It takes time to rebuild trust.
Yeah.
To truly move forward.
And that's important to acknowledge.
Yeah.
True reconciliation, whether it's within families or between nations,
right,
rarely happens overnight.
No.
It requires honesty. It requires humility.
Yeah.
And it often involves facing some uncomfortable truths about ourselves.
Right.
And the role we've played in the breakdown of the relationship.
And let's not forget about the theme of responsibility.
Okay.
Which is so powerfully illustrated in Judah's transformation.
It is.
He goes from being the one who suggests selling Joseph to the one who stands up and takes ownership of his actions and those of his brothers.
Uh-huh.
What do you make of this remarkable shift in Judah's character?
It's a testament to the potential for growth and change that exists within each of us.
Yeah.
Even when we've made grave mistakes. Judah's willingness to accept responsibility is what ultimately paves the way for reconciliation with Joseph.
Wow.
It's a powerful reminder that accountability, even though it can be difficult, is essential for healing and moving forward.
It makes you wonder what might have been going on inside Judah's heart and mind during all those years.
It does.
What led him to that moment of profound accountability?
Right.
Do you think it was solely driven by a desire to protect Benjamin?
I see what you're saying.
Or was there something deeper at play?
It's hard to say for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's safe to assume that Judah had been wrestling with his own guilt and shame. Perhaps seeing Benjamin's vulnerability awaken something within him.
Right.
A sense of responsibility that he hadn't felt before.
Okay.
It's a reminder that our capacity for empathy and compassion can sometimes emerge from the most unexpected places, often through our own experiences of pain and brokenness.
These themes, trust, reconciliation, responsibility, they're all interconnected, aren't they?
They are.
They form a kind of ethical and spiritual framework for navigating the complexities of human relationships. And they challenge us to think deeply about how we engage with each other, even in the face of hurt and betrayal.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
They offer valuable insights into how we can live more meaningful, compassionate, and fulfilling lives.
Right.
Not just in our personal relationships, but also in our communities and in the wider world.
So as we continue our deep dive into these chapters from Genesis, I'm curious, what stands out to you as the most significant takeaway so far?
For me, it's the reminder that even in the midst of brokenness, even when things seem irreparable, there's always the possibility of redemption.
I like that.
The story of Joseph and his brothers is a testament to the transformative power of forgiveness, the potential for growth and change, and the enduring faithfulness of God, even in the face of our human flaws and failings.
That's beautifully said.
Thanks.
It's a story that leaves us with a sense of hope.
It does.
A belief that even the most shattered relationships can be mended, and that God can work through even the most challenging circumstances to bring about good.
Absolutely.
But these themes of forgiveness, reconciliation, and responsibility don't just apply to personal relationships. They have broader societal implications as well, don't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The story of Joseph and his brothers offers valuable insights into issues like the interplay between power and forgiveness. And the complexities of migration and cultural integration. Themes that are just as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I wanted to explore that very idea further in the next part of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
Let's take a closer look at how these ancient stories shed light on some of the most pressing challenges we face in the world today. From political conflicts to social injustices to the global refugee crisis. We were just talking about how the story of Joseph and his brothers isn't just a personal family drama. It also offers insights into broader societal issues, like the dynamics of power, the complexities of forgiveness on a larger scale, and even the challenges of migration and cultural integration, and themes that are incredibly relevant to the world we live in today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's fascinating how these ancient narratives can speak so directly to contemporary concerns.
They really do.
For example, Joseph's rise to power in Egypt and his ability to forgive those who wronged him, even as he held a position of authority. What do you think that says about the relationship between power and forgiveness?
That's such an important question. Makes me think about how easily power can corrupt, how it can tempt us to seek revenge or hold on to grudges. But Joseph chooses a different path.
He does.
He uses his power to create a more just and compassionate society.
Yes.
He extends forgiveness not just to his brothers, but ultimately to his entire family, welcoming them into Egypt and ensuring their well-being.
Wow.
What a powerful model for leadership in any context.
Yeah.
Whether it's in our families, our workplaces, or even on a global scale.
I think it highlights the transformative potential of forgiveness.
Yeah.
Not just for the individual being forgiven,
right,
but for the forgiver as well.
Absolutely.
And for society as a whole. When we choose to forgive, we break free from the cycle of resentment and retaliation.
Yes.
And create space for healing and reconciliation.
Powerful.
It's not about condoning wrongdoing,
right,
but about recognizing the shared humanity that connects us all,
yes,
even across differences in power, culture, or ideology.
And speaking of cultural differences,
Okay.
the story of Jacob and his family migrating to Egypt raises some interesting questions about the challenges of integrating into a new society.
Yeah.
They're essentially refugees,
right,
fleeing famine and seeking a better life. But they're also entering a foreign land with different customs and beliefs.
Yeah, right.
What parallels do you see between their experience and the global refugee crisis we're facing today?
There are certainly some striking parallels. The sense of displacement,
right,
the struggle to adapt to a new language and way of life, the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
These are universal experiences for anyone who has ever had to leave their homeland to start over.
Right.
It's a reminder that the decision to migrate is often driven by desperation.
Yes.
By a longing for safety, opportunity, or simply a chance to survive. And it challenges us to consider how we respond to those who are seeking refuge.
It does.
Do we welcome them with open arms? Or do we turn them away out of fear or prejudice?
That's such a powerful point.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the political rhetoric surrounding immigration.
I agree.
But at its heart,
it's
a human story.
It is.
About families, individuals seeking a better life for themselves and their children.
Right.
The story of Joseph and his brothers reminds us that welcoming the stranger, offering hospitality to those in need, is not just a moral imperative, but also an opportunity for growth and enrichment, both for the individual and for society as a whole.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
When we open ourselves to different cultures and perspectives, we expand our understanding of the world and of ourselves. It can be challenging.
It can.
It can require us to step outside our comfort zones.
It does.
But ultimately, it's a path that leads to greater compassion, understanding, and a richer, more interconnected human experience.
Yes.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the story of Joseph and his brothers, I'm struck by the timeless wisdom it offers.
Me too.
About the complexities of family relationships, the power of forgiveness, the challenges of leadership, and importance of embracing diversity and welcoming the stranger.
Absolutely.
What's your biggest takeaway from this exploration?
For me, it's the reminder that even in the midst of brokenness and betrayal, there's always hope for healing and reconciliation.
Right.
That even the most difficult experiences can be redeemed. And that God's providence is at work, even when we can't see it. Powerful. It's a story that invites us to cultivate greater compassion, understanding, and a willingness to step outside our comfort zones to create a more just and compassionate world.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
But the real journey begins now as you take these insights and apply them to your own life, your own relationships, and your own understanding of the world.
I agree.
So as you continue to reflect on the story of Joseph and his brothers, ask yourself, where do I see these themes playing out in my own life?
Right.
How can I embody the values of forgiveness, reconciliation, and responsibility in my interactions with others?
Good questions.
And how can I contribute to creating a more welcoming and inclusive society for all? Until next time, keep diving deep.